What do you think of when you hear this sound? If you know, you know, it's definitely not a bird or a plane or even a dinosaur. I'll give you that glorious roar one more time. Sup, it's your Kaiju sympathizer, Savi. That was the roar of our one and only true savior, Godzilla, aka King of the Monsters, a Kaiju. One, the freak of nature is a Kaiju. Cool, I'm glad you asked. Kaiju has two meanings. One being the film genre where these giant monsters rampage and fight throughout a city, and other meaning the giant monsters themselves. Typically associated with Japanese movies, but in particular Godzilla, who's become the poster boy for kaijus. Godzilla has taken on many forms, from the metaphor for atomic bombs, hero of Japan, father, villain, a really bad American version in the 90s, guiding and defining generations of giant monsters. The genre itself has branched into other media such as video games, mangas, and better American adaptations. Personally, I've always found giant monsters fascinating and something I've found a love for in recent years. There are tons of examples of kaijus in recent media. Pokemon have kaiju-based creatures. Tyranitar, whose design I had to guess was based on the king himself. I mean, technically Clifford the Big Red Dog fits the term very loosely. I mean, he doesn't terrorize whole ass cities, but he can be a nuisance, so tomato tomato. Again, loose form of the term, Jurassic Park / World Series can be classed as kaiju since there are big ass monsters roaming around destroying shit. The movies haven't always been accurate and have definitely leaned towards sci-fi with bigger and weirder looking dinosaurs. Reptar from Rugrats is literally just Godzilla. The Marshmallow Man at the end of the Ghostbusters is a kaiju, so you've more than likely been exposed to kaijus or kaiju inspired things. So I want to share 3 of my current favorite media that have kaijus in them. One game, one manga, one movie. But before I begin, consider giving me a like, comment your favorite kaiju media, and don't forget to hit that sub button. The first piece of kaiju media I want to talk about is a game. No, not just some random ass collab Cog got with Godzilla and King Kong. It's not Shadow of the Colossus in its beautifully done story, or the 3D arena fighter Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, in where you 1v1 other famous kaijus from Godzilla lore to see who will be king. Quick side note, I actually play this game, it's really fun. No, it's that kaiju dating game, right?
What did he say?
Wait, there's a kaiju dating game? That's kind of sick, dude. The game I want to talk about and have fallen head over heels for is a game where you track down these kaijus, turn them into armor and weapons, fight alongside your cat and dog companion, and slaughter these kaijus into the brink of extinction, more or less. Let's talk Monster Hunter Rise. I really won't be deep diving into the game and explaining its very complex mechanics, since to be honest, I barely understand myself, so I'll be going over things that I really like and enjoy about the game. Monster Hunter Rise is an action role-playing game developed by Capcom and released on March 26, 2021. You play as a customizable up-and-coming hunter in the village of Kimura. The main goal of the game is to protect the village from an onslaught of kaijus. The game is divided into 2 sections. Single-player content is handled by Hinoa, the quest maiden who gives the player village quests or story quests. Her twin sister Minato, the hub maiden, is the multiplayer hub. This is where you can tackle quests with up to 3 friends. Now, let me just get this out of the way. Which girl's my favorite? You guessed it, they both are. I fell in love with these characters right away. Can you blame me? The ears, the fits, they can fight alongside you. The most recent DLC, 10 out of 10 would wife up.
Anyway,
you're able to choose from 14 different weapons that have their own unique combat styles, abilities, and pros and cons to master. There are obvious ones like sword and shield, hammer, great sword, and bow. But there's also unique weapons. So you know, like a mariachi band, there's someone who's playing like just a giant guitar. Okay, now imagine him just swinging that shit around like a giant hammer. But he's also playing to cast buffs, debuffs, and other shit while fighting a kaiju. Or you can just use the light bow or heavy bow, which are basically guns, and you just pull out your Glock and fire away.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Or fuck it, even a gun lance. It has the power of a lance and a gun. Now, I'm a switch axe main. This weapon is basically 2 weapons. You start in axe mode, in which you're more mobile and agile, but deals less damage. Or you can morph into sword mode that deals more damage, but becomes slower and more open to attacks. You can literally just hit a button to switch back and forth, hence the name. Each weapon has a standard 1-2 combo to try out each one to see what you like. I really like the elemental discharge of the switch axe. You can latch onto the beast and just pump all your stored energy in the mofo. It's freaking fucking sweet. I also like Invincible Gambit on the Switch Axe. You get like super armor and can power through a lot of stuff at the cost of one wire bug and some health. Again, I won't be getting into much detail, but each weapon can be crafted for a more powerful elemental version. Each weapon has a weapon tree that require different items to craft. The same goes for all the armor. Man, some of these armor sets are fucking clean looking. You can literally be all swagged out with armor and weapons from Kaiju's you slaughter. Might as well drip out your ride or die, the most loyal dog in gaming, Palamutes, in fresh gear. As well as your cat Palicos, both these companions will be your lifesavers. For movement, you can do all the standard walk and get confused on which button to sprint button. This game has wire bugs that allow you to do all sorts of things like the Invincible Gambit like I mentioned earlier. You can use it in the same way Spider-Man does and do flippies and dippies, but also ride Kaiju's wire bugs. Mobility is top notch when you hop on your Palamute and jump off, then wire bug and do all this crazy shit. Oh, right, mine's name is Pochita. If you know, you know. Hop on that doggo and sprint away. Rise has areas you can explore during quests. They're like biomes where these kaiju survive and thrive. These areas are seamless and don't have any loading screens once you boot up the area. You only ever really see the first loading screen of a quest when you fail in completing a quest. I remember when I played Monster Hunter Ultimate 3, it was nothing but loading screens. Okay, now I want to talk about my favorite kaijus in this game. Every first quest with a monster will get these like cool introduction samurai poetry segments that briefly describe each monster. They're actually really cool. I'm gonna play one really quick.
Look upon its prowess, its movement full of spark. Its claws cut through the silence, its fangs bite through the dark. Gaze upon perfection, thunder given form. Either knock its lights out or die fighting the storm.
Let's start with the most sus looking one, the Kizu. Come on, what does this thing look like? Let me read off the Monster Hunter wiki description. Kizu are large, pale wyverns with flabbery, rubbery hide which they constantly keep damp, similar to that of an amphibian. Many of their blood vessels and veins can be seen through their pale skin. Do I even have to explain what that means? It looks like I did. Now for something that's not as phallic looking, it's part of the Leviathan class. The Mitsutsune is a beautiful looking kaiju, very mythical like kaiju that you would probably come across in ancient texts. It's gorgeous, but man is this thing annoying to fight. It reminds me of Milotic from Pokemon. The bubble it produces during fights can hinder movements and does crazy mouth-water laser beam things that knock you on your ass. I just recently got a figure of it and I love it. Just some quick honorable mentions. Shout out to the Rathalos and the Nargacuga. Those things are dope. For the last one I want to mention, shouldn't be a surprise. It was all over the promotions when the game was making rounds. It's literally on the cover of the box. The Magnamola is the sickest looking kaiju ever. It resembles a tiger of those statues that guard outside temples. I think it looks like something that could have existed. The Magnamola is part of the Fanged Wyvern and is the story threat in Monster Hunter Rise. It is capable of creating purple flames from its mouth, tail, back, and forelegs known as Hellfire. This mofo is fucking relentless and can perform powerful attacks back to back. The Magnamola even eats other kaijus we fight, like the Tobikarachi.
This creature of pure evil shall swallow the world whole.
It can even go toe-to-toe with Elder Dragons, aka the strongest dragons out there, despite it not being an Elder Dragon itself. It is a threat not to be taken lightly. It appears every 50 years in the Komora village to feast to become stronger. The last time it appeared, almost taking out the whole village. It's an amazingly designed kaiju and tons of fun to fight. Its armor and weapon are probably my favorite at the moment. Before I move on to the next kaiju-based media, I'd like to give some love to the music and the sound design of this game. The music is naturally done. A lot of the background music you've been hearing is from this game. When you boot the game, Minato sings a song and it's great. The monster themes are great. The sound of the weapons clashing with monsters is smooth as butter. The kaiju's roars, the Palamutes barking at the creatures to help you out. You can hear your hunter getting winded when out of stamina, when potions are drunk and the sound emanates. The background of just the natural environment. Monster Hunter Rise knows what it's doing and does it very well, except for a certain mode, but I won't want to talk about that one. There's so much I left out, but I still love this game and highly recommend to anyone. Its learning curve can be very steep, but it's totally worth it. Someday I'll come back and go in more detail about this game. If you've watched my video on Chainsaw Man, or if you haven't, maybe you should after this video, I stated I recently started reading manga and briefly mentioned other mangas I'm reading. this being one of them. So what if I told you that one of the best kaiju media is a manga about a man in his 30s who feels unaccomplished, filthy, and disappointed the way his life turned out, desperately wishing things turned out differently, and to stand side by side with a friend who shared a dream and was able to fulfill that dream and has become a beacon of strength in a world that suffers countless attacks from kaiju, but for him, has to watch from the sidelines. How is he going to change things in his life and join that friend? This is the story of Kaiju number 8. Kaiju number 8 is written and illustrated by Naoya Matsumoto and debuted on July 3rd, 2020. Kaiju 8 differs in 2 ways from traditional manga. 1. It has adopted a unique schedule of a chapter every 3 weeks, then takes a week off, compared to the traditional weekly chapters. Kaiju 8 benefits from this in how masterful the chapters look and allowing characters to grow more organically. 2. Kaiju 8's main character. Kafka Hibino is our 32-year-old main character doing an unsung battle and works for Monster Sweep Inc., professional kaiju cleaning company, aka a kaiju janitor. It's not an easy feat as we see that these kaijus are massive and can take days to clean up. Bones are tough to get through and the mishandling of a kaiju part can lead into injuries. Kafka once had the dream of joining the Japan Defense Force, the one that actually takes down these kaijus Japan's plagued with. After countless attempts with little success, he has given up on these dreams and now does hard but honest work cleaning up that mess. He never lets things get down, at least not in public. Once at home, these regrets come back in full force. How'd I wind up on this side of things? Just don't think about it. Cleanup is an important public service. I get to live in a nice apartment, eat what I want. That should be good enough, damn it. I don't know about y'all, but man, this shit is relatable. After trying and trying but still being unable to achieve that dream, it's heartbreaking since it can happen to a lot of us. We aren't all cut out to make it as a musician, an athlete, an astronaut, or a doctor, but that's okay. We will find some sort of passion, whether it's a job itself or what we can afford to do because of the job. In Kafka's case though, after seeing his neighborhood get rampaged through, sought to become a protector of the people, but unfortunately was denied to do so for whatever reason. Despite all that, Kafka still puts his best foot forward in the work he does. As the character states, he always rises to the occasion in the end. If he only found his footing, he'd probably make a fine division officer. Even if the job pays well enough to allow him to live a comfortable life, something no job, no matter how well paying, can make his dream a reality. After training a new hire, Rino Ichikawa, who has plans of his own to join the Japan Defense Force, tells Kafka that the age limit has been raised to 33 because of declining birth rates, meaning at 32, this is Kafka's last chance to achieve this dream. Not to give away too much, after some events in the first chapter, Kafka and Rina are in the hospital, and as Kafka lies down, like what the fuck happened, a massive tapeworm with wings from hell spawns into the room and forces itself into Kafka's throat. You think, GG, this is some alien shit, he's gonna die now. But instead it gets transformed into something else entirely. Look how fucking cool he looks. It's a sick design. More importantly, he is now the man who became a kaiju. Now, how will this change things for Kafka? Will this new form allow him to pursue that dream? What are the form's limitation? Doesn't Japan's Defense Force kill kaijus? Why is it called Kaiju number 8? Honestly, since this manga is still ongoing, I really do recommend just reading it, but I'll give a taste of what's there to offer. Kaijus in this world are classified into 3 categories, each given a fortitude level similar to that of a magnitude of an earthquake. The Defense Force measures the potential threat to humanity and the kaiju's power. To start, Honju typically scale above 6.0, the biggest, most powerful, and can generate and guide other Yoju. So more traditional looking kaijus, the one you think of when a kaiju are mentioned. A Yoju are smaller kaiju and accompany a Honju. Typically in large groups, a Yoju can be labeled with a fortitude number above 6.0, classing it as a Honju level threat but still being a Yoju. For the last class, a Dai Kaiju are a rare classification, only given the name whose fortitude level is above 8.0. These types of Kaiju are the strongest category, not for their size but for their power. An example of a Dai Kaiju is Kafka himself. In his Kaiju form, his fortitude level is 9.8. If it wasn't for his good nature, it would make a good antagonist. This is what makes Kaiju number 8 an interesting story. These type of kaijus are capable of operating independently and speak actual human language. Dai kaiju are unique since these kaijus will get unique numbers associated with them for how uniquely strong and very difficult to neutralize. Essentially being built different, only 10 have appeared in history and get their number from order of appearance. So Kafka being the 8th Dai kaiju to appear, getting the name Kaiju number 8. So how do humans even tackle these kaijus? Do they all have some sort of transformation like Kafka? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous? The humans in these worlds wear combat suits that are made of muscle fiber and and cells from kaijus. Think like Black Panther's suit. Depending on the force released from the user, it can produce more strength, speed, precision, and reflexes. This translates into combat and even weapons, but abuse and prolonged time in combat can cause injuries to the wearer. So there are comparisons to Monster Hunter Rise, but more of a modern take on making things out of kaijus. As an example, while suited up, Kafka can produce 1% of force, while Division Captain can produce 96%. Kafka's kaiju form is in a whole nother level compared to his human base form. He's got a lot of catching up to do. The characters in the story is what makes you come back for more. Reno becomes such a better character and inspires Kafka, and Kafka inspires him. It's beautiful. Mina, who is a beacon of strength, is the hottest captain out there, dev waifu for Laifu. And then there's Sashiro's, whose combat abilities and the things that make him a great vice captain are inspiring. I can go on, but that's not what this video is about. It's all about kaijus. On that note, let's take a look at how amazing some of these chapters are and just show off how cool these kaijus can be. These two panels here, look at the size difference between Kafka and this kaiju, and just how much raw power Kafka has, and just absolutely obliterates it. It's beautiful, dude. Here's a kaiju in Sashiro. Look at that size difference. I like the scaling of this one and how big the fist is compared to him, and he's got to take it down. It's dope. Here's another one. I mean, just look at this angle and the way the fucking panel's going. It's amazing looking, man. Here's one of just Kafka in his kaiju form, just, powering up. He looks dope as hell, man. I really like this one a lot. Here's another one. Just look at the flow of these panels, just the angles, how big it is compared to her. It's sick looking, dude. I showed this one at the beginning of the section. I like it a lot because it just shows that Kafka is still human despite him being in his kaiju form. I think it goes a long way. On that, you should read Kaiju number 8. I think it's only gonna get better from here on out, so it's totally going to be worth reading. One video game and one manga and kaijus, and I can admit it's something of a commitment since it can take hours, days, weeks, months, or for a manga it can take years to fully tell a story. This next and last thing I want to talk about is something that takes 2 hours to watch. A movie. A very colossal movie. As I mentioned at the start of the video, Godzilla popularized the kaiju genre and defined decades worth of inspired media. There are modern classics such as the first Pacific Rim that blends mechas and kaijus into an immersive world that, if it had a better sequel, would be considered the American standard for these movies. There is the most recent MonsterVerse with Godzilla finally getting good movies by American studios. The first Godzilla of 2014 has its problems. One major problem people had is that Godzilla is barely in the movie and the use of Bryan Cranston, but I thought it worked well. Quick story, when I first saw this movie in theaters, it was a terrible experience since the projector room light was left on, and this movie is really dark and it ruined the experience. Godzilla King of the Monsters was everything I wanted from these movies. Kaiju's just throwing hands and going all out. It was dumb fun. Kong Skull Island was surprisingly really good, and Godzilla vs. Kong told a crazy amount of lore that I didn't know I needed from these movies. It was dumb fun shit, but my only problem was the final fight. It should have leaned way more into crazy shit. The problem with all these movies in the MonsterVerse is that they have a hard time balancing the importance of a Godzilla and the human roles. Pacific Rim kind of gets a pass since it's more of mech focus, but I still recommend. The movie I want to talk about is one of my favorite films that puts humanity's intelligence to the test, the inefficiency of a government, the abuse of science and nature, and the result of that abuse creating something unspeakable. Let's talk about Shin Godzilla. Since the movie is only 2 hours, and without giving away a lot, I'm going to try my best to convince you to watch this. It is produced by Toho, the same ones that worked on the original Godzilla film in 1954. Shin was released on July 29, 2016, its 6th year anniversary as the making of this video. It grossed $78 million worldwide, won 7 Japan Academy Prizes such as Director of the Year and Picture of the Year. It is the highest grossing Japanese produced Godzilla film and the highest grossing live action Japanese film of 2016. So this film was really well received, but received mixed reviews by Western critics. Shin Godzilla is not the MonsterVerse movies, it's a slower action political drama that heavily focuses on the human side of things and how to put an end to something that humanity has unintentionally created. If it helps, do you know this song? Hideki Ono, the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion, is one of the directors of this film. Just based on that, you know it's going to be a wild story. Let me read the Google synopsis. Japan is plunged into chaos when a skyscraper-sized lizard monster rises from the deep of Tokyo Bay and lays waste to Tokyo. This could be used for almost any Godzilla film, to be honest. I think what it's missing is that this Godzilla took inspiration from the Fukushima nuclear disaster and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake. Just like how the original Godzilla was a metaphor for the atomic bomb, Shin is one giant lizard metaphor on how poorly the government handled or the mishandling of these disasters, resulting in many deaths. In kaiju fashion, normal weapons don't work on this unholy beast. This Godzilla keeps on evolving throughout the movie and becomes more unlikely to be stopped. To avoid outside forces from laying waste on the kaiju, aka nuking that bitch, a group is tasked with figuring out a different way of stopping it before someone unlocks their kill streak. As the team scrambles to find a solution, you can see how destructive a kaiju or disaster can be for a country. Buildings, families, government infrastructure, humanity, society comes crashing down in these moments. This movie is grounded in realism on the human side of things, so they aren't calling some superpowered person like Goku or using crazy sci-fi technology to take on this kaiju, but instead have to rely on what's readily available within Tokyo for a solution. As the movie goes on, Godzilla shows how much an enormous threat it has become and referred to as an incarnation of God. Let me play a scene really quick and tell me the name isn't earned. This Godzilla is something to be feared and honestly scares the shit out of me, and I dig it. Please consider giving this movie a watch, it's really good. Again, don't expect like the MonsterVerse kind of movie, it's totally different from that. It's more traditional Godzilla before anything else, but with just the right amount of new stuff. Now, I want to talk about some behind the scenes of this movie. This is the first Godzilla to be primarily filmed in CG, as typically Godzilla is a suit with a real person in it, but this one was aided by some motion capture. There's an animatronic of this kaiju that went unused, as well as a more evolved final form type shit that also went unused, and concept art of this Godzilla fucking flying. This would make one hell of a story if it made it in, right? Since the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion made this movie, it only made sense that they got a crossover as an extreme motion theme park ride at Universal Studios Japan, and something I wish I could have experienced myself. This movie is between $3 to $4 to rent. It is dubbed, so you don't have to worry about reading subtitles. Honestly, if you do watch this film and you do enjoy it and want something longer, please consider watching Godzilla Singular Point on Netflix. It's inspired by Shin Godzilla and it's a really good story. It leads in way more to the sci-fi stuff, so I definitely recommend checking that out. Yo, these were my 3 favorite kaiju medias. Monster Hunter is an amazing experience. I forgot to mention, but this is something I play with my girlfriend and honestly makes the experience a lot better, especially for those tougher fights. The kaijus are really well designed and can't wait to start playing the Sunbreak DLC. Maybe I'll come back someday when it finishes updating and talk more in depth about it. Kaiju number 8 is a modern classic and at the time of recording at 67 chapters, it will get better from here on out. Yeah, Kafka has some crazy anime transformation, but Kafka is still really relatable as a character. If and when it does get an anime, it's going to be top tier as fuck. Shin Godzilla is such a unique but the same take on Godzilla, if that makes sense. I even have a Pokemon card of this Godzilla. I really do recommend just watching it. It's such a great movie. I had a lot of fun making this one and something I like to do more with this channel and just share my interest in things that I enjoy. I hope your interest in all the glory that is kaiju has been piqued. There are plenty other kaiju medias I did not touch. If you know of any other kaiju media I should check out, leave a comment below. This has been your kaiju lover, aka Godzilla worshiper, Savi. Thanks for watching.